For a select few of us, it is still Sunday night. And you know what that means. Kevin Ely, Paul Fontaine, and I are back for a brand new post-WrestleDream version of The Boom right here live on YouTube. We hope you'll be joining us here tonight and chatting it up with us. Of course, leave some comments. This was a really interesting show. Due to the name WrestleDream, I sort of misunderstood the assignment. But I'm ready now to talk American pro wrestling, apparently. Kevin, Paul, what did you guys think of the show?
Paul has feelings.
It was a good show. It was a good show.
Yes.
I'm a little let down in some ways, but that might be my own fault.
It's not just your fault. No.
We'll get into that, I guess, as we go on. And but I mean, we saw one of the best matches of the year, and a couple other really, really good matches. So you can't really complain about that.
I'm going to tell you, I was really excited during the buy-in or whatever it was called this time to find a surprise match I had no idea was happening in Josh Barnett versus Claudio Castagnoli. Okay. I want to start out at the beginning talking about that. That got me kind of excited for the night. Here we are now 8 to 9 hours later. My dog is just laid out, might not even be alive anymore. I don't know. It's been a long one, but that was a great way to start the night for me. Even though I'd already seen a match with Kojima, Keith Lee, etc., Josh Barnett was a cool little bonus.
That was cool. Did I missed most of the mixed 8-person.
You didn't miss a lot.
No,
I did miss a lot, but the one thing I did catch was JR saying, "I'm really looking forward to Athena getting on a hot streak one day."
Oh,
when she's been undefeated since April of 22, and has been the champion of ROH for 9 months. But one day she'll break out.
One day.
I was just baffled that they flew Satoshi Kojima in there to do a mixed tag team match
on the undercard.
He didn't care.
Yeah,
he likes the little roles they give him on the plane.
I guess. Yeah. Mercedes and Diamante were, but the rest of that match was pretty fun. Kojima's chops and Keith Lee just selling the chops, even though he wasn't the one taking them. That was great.
I really enjoyed the faces cheating to win, and JR pointing out they just cheated.
Yeah. But it was fun. Yeah. And that was another one I'm watching this match and it's over and I'm like, well, that was fun. And then it dawned on me, I watch every single AEW show and I've never seen any of those people on my television in the last month.
No. By the way, I'm glad to see Twan Mack is here in the chat with us tonight. But I think I derailed this in the wrong way in that I think anybody that's going to be coming across this video on YouTube is going to want to be talking about Adam Copeland and the new era. Adam Copeland, baby. That is exactly right. Of course, I realized as soon as I found out that Christian versus Darby Allin was the main event of this show. Yeah. I'm like, well, we're definitely getting Edge tonight.
What was going to happen there?
Yeah, we all knew. And I enjoyed the tease that maybe he would come in as a heel when we know he's not coming in as a heel. We had the out of nowhere swerve with Nick Wayne. Mm-hmm. His mother was horrified.
Yeah.
She was horrified. She was actually great tonight.
She was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty hot.
Adam Copeland looked, let me say this. They've needed a superstar face for a while, and I feel like they got that tonight. His entrance was cool. Everything about him was cool. And that's what AEW needs right now, I think, more than anything. So hopefully he will continue in this position for a little while.
Isn't that what MJF is?
Yeah, MJF.
MJF, who was where was he on the card?
Kicking it off with a bang, baby.
Versus
number
Vincent
one
and Dutch.
Number
one in my heart. Yes.
Yeah.
But
no, you're right though. Like Edge is. I mean, he's Adam Copeland.
Guy.
I'm gonna be calling him Edge for a while.
We're all gonna call him Edge.
Yeah,
Edge
he's a good get for them. Obviously, he's probably got a few good matches left in him, and
Yeah, but I think this is like I figured it was coming. It got more and more obvious as the show went on and the timing of the show. You started to see when the top of the hour was. There's 10 minutes left, and it just felt very all out 2021 to me, which ironically had Christian Cage in that main event too. But hey, it was a cool moment. And when the music hit, you just don't it's hard to underestimate the value of a song that is so closely associated with someone. Hearing that in that context made all the difference.
Yes.
It was cool. But as Paul was talking about a little bit before the show, that we were promised a new era in AEW, and the new era is old people.
That's exactly right. We were left with Sting and Edge standing in the ring, with a broken Darby Allin. By the way, I've got to say I'm really looking forward to Nick Wayne versus Darby Allin matches. Those are going to be amazing. Also, we've got at least 5 people who aren't in the chat letting us know they're here. Let me know you're here. Let me know where you're watching from, and yeah, ask some questions of us.
I thought the ending. I mean, I was really and if you look at my Twitter feed, I was getting pretty down on it. It was a little overdone, and we'll get to it when we get to the match. But when they and then Nick churns, and then they're beaten on, and then Sting comes down, and I think when Sting came down, you expected this big pop, but there's a bit of a letdown because I think the fans were expecting Edge.
Yeah.
And so
I was surprised they weren't chanting.
Yes. Yeah. And then when the lights went out, we haven't gotten the lights out thing in a while. So
boy, I kept waiting for those lights to go out. I just waited, and we finally got it. And
that's
actually
the weakest reaction Sting's ever gotten for a run-in.
I think so, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, because everyone was waiting for Edge. That's all.
And he just walked out like a schlub, like CM Punk.
Yeah. He got there faster than Edge did, though.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Edge took his time.
Well, that's because Edge had to be in the video booth getting him to queue up his video.
Edge was driving in,
a
apparently.
future presentation.
Now, did they take it off a boat? Was he coming from the airport? Where I
shipped
missed
in from Toronto.
Very beginning. I think that's what it was. So it took him a minute. It took him a minute to get there.
But it was I will say it was a cool entrance video, but
it
is that total pet peeve trope of the presence of a video causes the viewers to pause and they're frozen in their tracks with just the intrigue of who could this be.
Oh man, I would have hit.
But it was a really well-made video. I love the bit with the fireworks going off in the arena while he's driving up.
Now, okay, let's play devil's advocate here, even though I don't believe what I'm about to say.
Okay, that's why they call it devil's advocate.
Yes. Christian knew Edge was coming. They talked beforehand, and so he was waiting for Edge to show up so he could give him the chair. He didn't know Edge was... Yeah.
He Adam Coled him.
Yes. Yeah.
That's how I justified it for myself too. That's how I'm going to sleep tonight, other than the fact that I'm also exhausted.
Yeah. But no, it was good, and they got the rated R superstar. So apparently that trademark lapsed. Yeah.
Okay. Whoops.
Is that true? I just thought Taz messed up.
No. They Tony Khan, the rated R superstar Adam Copeland is all elite.
Yeah.
Someone posted the lapse trademark. Apparently it was reported by someone. I want to say Wrestle Purists. I might be wrong about that.
Wow.
Wild.
Smart Mark Sterling comes through again.
Yes.
Transferring Heat and Puppet Up are asking this question. How'd they film a short film with Edge if his contract expired today? I think it expired technically yesterday. I could be wrong. But most of that you didn't need Edge for. You just needed someone
Edge
with
never appeared in the video.
Hair.
Edge never appeared in that video.
Which video?
The video of Edge driving up to the arena.
Yeah.
You never saw his face.
Oh, right. Yeah. Although people could tell it was Edge. People could tell it was Edge.
Yeah. Or an Edge-like character.
Yeah.
So, or he may have done like what Mox did or Ruby Soho did, where he's just sort of like, I did this myself, on my own time. And it was in an AEW thing. But,
By the way, thank you, Sam Shipman and Paul Fontaine, for the shout outs this week on your shows. Much appreciated.
Oh, thank you for being you.
Okay, what were
Birthday James is my favorite James.
Yeah,
he's coming. Just hold on tight.
Oh.
He's coming.
You made my week with the boom last week. Oh my god,
I appreciate that very much.
Oh.
Okay, what were some of your favorite matches on this show? Give us a top 3. Kevin, what you got?
Let's see. Danielson Sabre would be my absolute top.
Right.
I really like the 6-man, the family versus Jericho, Omega, and Ibushi. I liked it better than I thought I would. But then Paige and Strickland probably would be the other.
Okay, I think Paige and Strickland was my number 1. Danielson and Sabre probably number 2.
Oh,
and I don't know, maybe number 3. I think I just loved seeing Josh Barnett. I think that was it.
That was
Those
cool.
felt.
I actually not this is not best, but probably match I was the most invested in. Actually, for me, was Statlander and Julia Hart, just because it was paying such close attention. Because it was just one of those times where I was like, this is a big opportunity for someone who's never been in this position before, and I really wanted to see them do well.
What did you see, Kevin? What did you see from young Julia?
I saw more of Julia than we normally do.
Yeah.
Which I actually like her other gear better. But I saw a future star, actually.
Really?
She did great.
Okay.
Yeah, she did really well.
I mean, she wasn't blow away or anything. But
right.
I mean, she did really well. And they ended at the right time because the crowd was starting to turn. And was starting to really get behind her. And they ended that match right after that. So
right.
They were still able to keep Chris Statlander the good guy. But
I was expecting something after that match, and we never got it. So I was a little disappointed. That was probably where my disappointment started. I really liked the match,
right?
But I was we'd heard some rumors about certain people coming in, more than one actually,
right?
And
maybe we'll see that on the Dynamite 4th anniversary.
Maybe
they're saving a little for
my three are probably the same as Kevin's, but just in a different order.
Okay.
I like Danielson, Zack Sabre. That was my best match of the weekend. And there was a hell of a match yesterday on the No Mercy show between Ilya Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes.
Oh, really?
But
okay.
like almost as good as Danielson, Zack Sabre, in my opinion.
Oh, wow.
I have a question about that, but I want to let you finish your.
Sure. And then my second would be
first.
Strickland and Hangman, and then my third is the 6-man. And then I think those 3 were like a step above like everything else, and really like. Everything else on the show to me, and this is where my issue with this show probably is, everything else in the show was like a really good Dynamite match, but like AEW pay-per-views typically have like 7 or 8 just blow away matches, and I just didn't feel like some of those matches got to that level.
I agree with you, and they were good matches. Ricky Starks, Wheeler Yuta, fine match, but I feel like I could see that on Dynamite or Collision any week.
And there were literally times that something would happen. They would do some.
You're waiting for a commercial.
They both go down, and I picked up the remote expecting to skip through the commercial.
Yeah. No, I total. And even the main event, I mean, obviously the ending was incredible, and that's gonna make people, I think that the main event was better than it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I just I don't know. I'm kind of turned off but I've seen that whole thing with peeling the ring back too many times, and I didn't even really think it. I don't even understand why they did it here. Like it
actually didn't. Yeah, it actually wasn't as horrible as what happened right before it. So.
Exactly. Yeah, it didn't play into the match at all, unless Christian was just trying to kill time.
I did think
that was my question for you about the NXT. Just real quick about the NXT thing, the Dragunov match. I haven't seen it, but I heard that it was uncomfortably violent.
I mean, yes and no. It was a Dragunov match. I mean, when he has a big match, they're all like that. So
which was more uncomfortable to watch, that or the Darby?
Darby
and Christian did.
Darby, absolutely. Yeah, like that was sick.
Yeah.
Like the this was more like Daniel, like the violence in Dragunov match was more like the Danielson Zack Sabre violence. Like like
super
with the
stiff.
Yeah, or with the like the way he did the dragon screw and stuff like that. I called it technical violence. Which I think is
That's
a great
t-shirt.
It's a good term.
Is it really? Oh wow!
No, it should be.
It definitely should be. Yeah. Sorry, I thought
as uncomfortable violence should be.
Yes. Yeah, but yeah, it was. I mean, again, because I didn't pay full price, like I'm happy with the show. If I had
James,
paid
you
full
haven't
price,
introduced us to your co-hosts.
Well,
you did off air, but the
yes.
people at home, how are they expected to know this without like a video?
This is Hannah Mataku.
Characters.
This is Hannah Mataku and Butterscotch Chiaku. Once I knew the name of this pay-per-view was WrestleDream, I felt like I should bring them in as experts on Kawaii. And as it turns out, they were not needed, but we're big Kojima fans.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I thought, let's just
Are these
keep
the
them
friends
around.
that Puppet Up found by the
yes.
He looks a little like Kanemato.
Is that right?
You know who that is?
I don't know.
The little blue monkey in CMLL.
Oh yeah.
They could be related. You never know what Puppet Up's going to bring back to the house next.
Yeah.
And I tried to. Oh man, I was trying to find my Kaiju Big Battle posters, but I couldn't locate them in time. So yeah. No, this thing was 5.5 hours long.
Yeah.
It lost me multiple times. Like I would wake up and get into this, and then they'd lose me, and I'd pop back to full attention.
Mm-hmm.
And again, there were a couple of matches that I was really, really invested in particular, Swerve and Adam Page, particularly when I realized, I don't know, at the very beginning, I realized Adam's losing this.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I just knew early on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was really, really invested in that one. And I really hope they go hard with Swerve, because since day one, we've said he's a superstar. He just is a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
And they've kind of been messing around with him just kind of forever. And I'm glad he's now in the singles division and apparently near a title picture, having beaten Hangman Adam Page.
But what title?
Well,
it seems like
I had a revelation.
It seems like all MJF's interested in right now is doing bro skits.
Yeah, there's going to be no world title matches. And it hit me, all these ROH titles, Kevin, all these are United States titles. This is like WCW 1992. These are all U.S. titles for AEW. That's all they are. They're all secondary titles. The ROH World Champion is just a secondary champion to the AEW World Champion, and the same with the tag champs. At least that's how they are in my mind right now. They're not even legitimate world championships on their own, because they're only defended really on AEW every week, and sometimes we don't know who the challengers are.
Yeah, when they announced the Young Bucks tonight and they said they're co-holders of the ROH 6-man world titles, I had completely forgotten.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Oh.
I was reminded of that earlier this week somehow. So
there's too many belts. Like that four-way match for a tag team title shot, it dawned on me during the match that 4 of the guys in the match already have belts.
The last time that Kevin and I went over how many people in AEW had belts, there were 21 people in AEW with belts, and that was before ROH. And that was before the 6-man belts. There could be a total of 40 at this point, and it's quite possible.
Oh, Sam's watching the scrum. She can keep us updated.
Oh yeah, if you want to drop any great info, we'll pop it right up here on the screen, Sam, for sure.
They even had tonight. Rocky Romero, they mentioned, had a CMLL belt. Like, I'm surprised he didn't bring it with him. And then that match, we haven't mentioned it yet. The Eddie Kingston Katsuhiro Shibata match. I thought it was very weird that only Eddie's belts were on the line, even though his belts are theoretically more valuable than Shibata's.
The only explanation for that, I think, would be that Shibata's is under certain kind of rules.
Okay.
Like his belt, is defended under certain type of rules. So like it's kind of like with Sabre Jr. Like Danielson beat him, but it wasn't a TV title match because it didn't have that time limit, and I think that's the only rule for Sabre's belt is that short time limit. But that would be fun.
So the new era is actually Adam Copeland. It's the rated R era. There's T-shirts and everything.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
It kind of messes with Jay White too, being like, because all he's talking about is that it's still his era, and we're all saying it's a new era.
We're gonna have to have a battle of the eras.
Yeah.
Now
here's the thing. I wonder
if we can get those musical rights from Taylor Swift.
Yeah, he's in his 1989 era.
That's right.
We're in our the new era is the 1996 era.
Yeah. Well, maybe
here's
98.
the thing though. I'm gonna go to work tomorrow, and there's a smattering of wrestling fans that I work with who are
who did not watch this show.
Some of them, like maybe one or two of them, might have watched, but mostly they probably followed it on social media. And they're going to come talk to me about it. And they're going to be super pumped about Edge being in AEW. That's going to be a huge deal to them. I don't know if it's going to make them watch it more or buy the next pay-per-view or whatever. But when you talk about, like, to people who are not tracking all the news items and, like really paying attention to things, I hate to say the casuals, but like people who are just following it by aggregators and stuff. I mean, I think this is a huge deal.
So with those people, those same people, were they like totally into Edge like 2 months ago when he was in WWE? Like this is
no,
like
no.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. Like, I mean, if they really wanted to see him,
I think it's more about AEW getting a big star, like getting a Hall of Famer.
Okay,
more about that, But these were people who also were like have you heard the latest Punk news?
Yeah. So they're like maybe lapsed fans, so they maybe don't know the current people. So if like a guy like they
probably tune into AEW every 3 or 4 weeks.
So for them, like he's a bigger deal.
We always
than,
intend to get together for the pay-per-views and never do.
So like he's a bigger deal to them than like Adam Cole was.
Yeah.
Even though Adam Cole theoretically for the future of the company was probably a bigger get.
Depending on what you're talking about, yeah.
Maybe even Bryan Danielson. Like if you're talking lapsed fans,
Danielson,
like maybe bigger than Bryan Danielson.
I think it's that level at least. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe bigger because he's been around since when he was around in the Attitude Era when like he's on that Sting, Jericho, Christian is probably on the lower end of that. But
and he's and he was just main eventing SmackDown 6 weeks ago. Treated so like a legend.
And a SmackDown on Fox, which has an enormous amount of fans. He's a star from multiple eras. He's not 85 pounds. And we're about to see him in matches against lots of people he's never wrestled before, like he's talking about right here in this quote from the Scrum. I'm way more excited about him now than I was in WWE because, frankly, I wasn't that interested in WWE's current version of Edge for whatever reason. But I'm excited, maybe for the first time ever, seeing who he really is. We're going to see him possibly how he would like to portray himself. Maybe it's the exact same thing, but maybe not.
Yeah, I think I'm excited in a bubble. I'm excited to see what they might do with him because legends, I think other than people like Mark Henry and Paul White, who really don't have that much to offer anymore actively, but the people who do have something left in the tank, everybody from Sting to Billy Gunn, they have maximized, right? Like who would have thought Billy Gunn would be as over he is, or that Christian would be the character he is, even though, like as Paul pointed out earlier, like he is smoke and mirrors. He's a really smart worker because he's able to work matches like that and make you forget that he's really not doing that much. So I'm interested to see that. What I'm not interested in seeing is a new era where someone in the last 2 years of his career and in his, closing in on 50 is taking up time where they should be building up. we're freaking MJF should be main eventing. Your world title should be the most important person on your show.
If he's going to be full time, okay, there's two things. Number one, I'm worried, is his body going to hold up?
Yeah.
Because he got injured a lot in his last couple of years in WWE. Like every time he had a big match, it seemed he was gone. Now, that may have been writing him out. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what were real injuries and what were, storyline injuries. But I do know there was at least one serious injury since he came back. The other thing is, if he's working full time, he's taking a spot of somebody else.
Right.
Now, granted, for the company, they'd probably rather have Edge in there than,
right.
Theoretically, he's taking Jay White's spot. Like
or Ricky Starks,
or Ricky Starks, like
or Darby.
Well, yeah, and these guys he's talking about wrestling, like Edge and Sting. That sounds cool. That sounds really cool, and I'm sure the match would be fun. And Tony's going to put it in a really big spot on a pay-per-view and everything. But then, there's like, we didn't see Jay White on the pay-per-view tonight. We didn't see Juice Robinson. No. There's a lot of big AEW stars we didn't see on this pay-per-view. And, you keep bringing in these guys and.
But I get like they're, if they're trying to impress TV execs right now.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. That's great.
I think he's going to be needed on Collision, and he'll probably be on Collision every week, and potentially help really elevate Jay White in the eyes of
that could be of
a lot of people.
Jay White,
and I think full time,
great,
and I think full time is probably like he'll be on all the shows. I don't think he's going to wrestle on most shows, and I hope he doesn't. I hope we see him wrestling sparingly, but supporting other wrestlers. Cutting promos, and this may be the first time I've ever said this in my life, that I would rather see him cutting promos than wrestling every week, because he's well into his 40s.
Just wait. You may not like the promos.
Promos are long.
Yeah. If you thought MJF and Jay White was long on Wednesday, just wait for Edge.
But essentially, he's a CM Punk replacement.
Yes,
in a lot of ways, and he was desperately needed, I think.
Yeah. Better worker than Punk, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I look forward to the new trios team of FT Edge.
Yeah, slightly lower, probably slightly smaller level of stardom, but pretty close.
Right. And it's like it's a slightly lower level of stardom over a much longer period of time.
Yes.
Which at times can appear to be a higher level of stardom, I think.
Yeah.
We've seen that with a number of wrestlers.
And likes Punk, he had that, long time off. Punk's was self-induced. Edge's was not.
Right.
So, Edge has a new lease on life. He had the 9 years off with the neck surgery that was supposed to be career ending. And so if they get 2 years out of him, I think that's good.
And Edge was smart enough to not compete in the UFC.
Yeah.
That would have been fun.
Oh my God.
What's Beth Phoenix's status, I wonder? I'm sure she's on some kind of Legends contract right now.
Well, by the way, one of the top matches we haven't talked about yet, the Don Callis family versus Jericho and the Golden Elite. What was your take on that match?
I enjoyed it way more than I thought. I thought it would be kind of
fair.
A mess a little bit, honestly. I am not expecting much out of Kota Ibushi now. The way I described it in my head it was Jericho, Omega, and the ghost of Kota Ibushi coming together, because that's what it seems like.
That's been a real disappointment.
It's just not him, and he's still doing the old spots, and he tried to do Murder Ibushi and all that. It's just not convincing.
No,
I thought he was good. I thought he was good tonight. Will Ospreay barely even noticed he was there, which is kind of weird.
He was doing a lot of stuff in the background that was really good.
Okay,
he was doing a lot of drawing the ref, and he was always in position to
but not doing his signature,
right. He did a little bit of that in the beginning, and then the rest of the time he was just kind of
focus of the match was really Jericho, Omega, and Sammy.
Yeah.
You know, and I kind of missed, like I mentioned earlier that I was kind of drifting off, and like, so I missed the setup to the ending of the match, like with the belt, with the bat shot. But I thought it was the right move. Kenny Omega's now 0-9 since he left Don Callis.
Wow.
So that's an interesting story they're telling.
Yeah.
You know, and Don Callis will remind us, I'm sure, since he's been betrayed.
That's right.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it was. I thought it was a really good match. Like, and it got better. Like as I'm watching it, I'm like, this is, I'm not feeling this, and then it just kind of kept getting better and better and better, and then it peaked and then it ended.
Yeah.
So I thought it was almost perfect in the sense that if they'd gone 2 minutes shorter, it would have been a worse match. If they would have gone 2 minutes longer, it would have been too long. So I thought they hit their mark.
And it's one of those things I like when they, in this kind of trios match, where it makes you want to see the singles matchups inside of it. So like whenever Ibushi and Takeshita were staring at each other in the middle of the ring, everybody got electric.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's happened before. I'm sure it has. As you all know, I have a terrible memory. I really want to see Kenny Omega go 20 minutes with Sammy Guevara. I really want to see that match.
I think if he has, it's been a while, and Sammy's better. He may not be as good as he was. I mean, he's ever since the Cody matches, he's been really a better level than he probably was the last time he fought Omega.
Yeah. So I'd love to see modern Sammy versus current.
Pretty
Kenny.
much any combination of those guys other than Chris Jericho would be a singles match I'd like to see.
When you were talking about Kenny Omega being 0-9, it reminded me of how the super hot Ricky Starks before tonight was 0-3 in his last 3 singles matches.
Oh,
yeah,
poor Ricky. He still feels like a superstar to me.
I mean, he got the win. He finally got the win. I did not care about FTR versus Aussie Open even a little bit. I have no interest in Aussie Open at this point. I'm sure they've won some matches. I don't remember them winning any matches. And I think that, I don't know. The way this show ended was so strange. With clearly we know why they wanted Christian and Darby, but then FTR versus I felt like nobody's. And that's on me. That's not them. I'm sure a lot of people are really into Aussie Open.
I think they really just kind of coasted on FTR for a good while.
Yeah.
And they just don't feel as I think they're still loved, they're still over, but people just aren't as excited about them as they were, say, a year ago. And Aussie Open, they just screwed up. They just screwed up with them. There was a clear path to bring them in and build them up, and they still could have lost at Wembley and still been a hot team going in. But their only other high-profile match was a loss to a freaking Sammy and Jericho coexisting. And then it's kind of like they kind of did the same thing that they did with Julia Hart, where they just throw her out there and just have a bunch of squash matches, like 4 episodes in a row. But theirs were always less than a minute. And, you know,
here's a thought. In retrospect, I would have had the FTR Aussie Open match at all in. Yeah. And then you could have and it would be, at that time it would have been champions versus champions. Mm-hmm. And then maybe it's only for the AEW titles. Then you could have done the all out match. You could have done Aussie Open against MJF and Cole, and that's where MJF and Cole would have won the titles instead of defending against Dark Order.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think if they would have done it that way, they would have got a lot better reaction for the same match at all in than they got tonight, because they would have been in a hot crowd at Wembley. People would have remembered that big match they had last year. This match was kind of like the 6-man in that it took forever to get there, but once they got there, like, it never quite hit the level that the FTR great matches do, but it was very, very good.
It was very good. I felt the same. I was tired.
Yeah.
By that point,
it was a good match,
and I love tag team wrestling, and I love FTR, and but I did feel the same, that I was, hard to get up for it. It was hard to.
We love to joke about the Outrunners, but I would have legitimately rather seen them wrestle the Outrunners. There's a lot of tag teams I would have rather seen there.
You know who I would have loved to have seen the Outrunners in this show?
Who's that?
In the opener instead of the Righteous.
Yeah,
I legit
absolutely.
MJF in a handicap match against the Outrunners. I legitimately would have been
unbelievable. I would have been so excited.
Can we talk about that opener?
Them,
Why not?
Well, I will say, like, I was kind of dreading that match because I didn't know exactly how they were going to get out of it. I thought like maybe MJF's going to have a partner, maybe someone's going to show up and screw MJF. And what we got was MJF coming out there, cutting a promo on them, calling his shot, telling him exactly what I'm going to do.
Body slam.
I'm going to body slam you. I'm going to shove his head into his ass. And then he went out there.
Got it.
Well, he did eventually. But you know, I thought the Righteous got enough to where they weren't complete and total geeks.
I'm more interested in the Righteous after this match. I'll say that.
What was that?
I'm more interested in the Righteous.
Well, that's too bad because you're never going to see them again.
No, never. No.
I mean, the next time you see them will be on a battle royal for a tag team title shot.
Yeah.
And they'll be the third team eliminated.
Well, if there's another tournament for a tag title shot as well,
right?
I'm sure they're going to be in it and top contenders.
Maybe. I think they'll be on Ring of Honor, but I don't think you're watching Ring of Honor.
I don't have time to watch Ring of Honor.
No, me neither.
I do wish I did though.
I was watching that match and thinking this is really enjoyable. MJF really is got that character, like it or not. He's really got that character dialed in of the like late 86, early 87 Roddy Piper. I'm exactly the cheater I was last year, but now you love it, and it's halfway comedy of the stuff that he's pulling off. He knows how to work that crowd, and to be able to just call out, hey, in this match I'm going to body slam somebody and have people chanting for it, and when he hits it, it's huge. Like, that's a really good worker. The thing that I kept watching was this would be just as entertaining if he were not the world champion. It would be more entertaining if he was the world champion, because I would be sitting there saying they should make this guy world champion.
Yeah. But here he is, the world champion, and the belt.
But here's the world champion, and the belt's in limbo.
This is the fourth pay-per-view out of the last 5 where the world title was not in the main event.
Yeah.
And or MJF was not in the main event, I should say.
It's one of the strangest title runs I've ever seen.
Yeah, and people talked about Hangman not being pushed very well as world champion. Now, you can't say that with MJF because the TV completely revolves around him. Right. But when it doesn't
revolve around that belt at all.
Not really, no. Now, is that because of Cole? Is it because he's injury plagued? And
maybe they'll be able to go ahead, Kevin. Sorry,
I think it's because they saw that people were responding, and maybe the rate know better than me, but the ratings pattern were showing that when they do these bro skits, that they get a lot of attention and people pay attention to it, and so they're like,
that is actually
literally more important than the world title right now.
That's actually slowing down a bit the ratings for that stuff.
I wonder, and again, I think they initially had planned to fairly quickly probably go with Adam Cole versus MJF, but then it blew up. The skit blew up, and I think they had to stay with it for a little while. But now maybe we'll get a little bit of a run of world title defenses now that Adam Cole is on the shelf. I think
we'll get Adam Copeland.
Maybe so. I would love to see that. I would not want Adam Copeland to win it right now, but I'd love to see that. Okay.
I don't think he should ever win it, but that, and that's not to say he's not good and everything, but I think you can get a lot of use out of Adam Copeland without having him have the world title.
Yeah. Jumping around, what was y'all's take on Jon Moxley on commentary tonight?
Loved it. He's got my vote for commentator of the year right now. I'm sure I'll come to my senses later.
I love him selling the open hand slap as he uses it because it's just so disrespectful.
He had 2 of the best lines that I've heard on commentary.
I'll give him to us, Paul.
One was in the Barnett Claudio match right before the finish. He said, I can't. Well, it's on my Twitter. I can't remember exactly what the wording is. I don't want to mess up the wording, but it was something to the effect of if Claudio Castagnoli taps out, or if Josh Barnett taps out to that, I'll poop.
I'll poop my pants.
I'll poop my pants.
I'll poop my pants if Josh Barnett submits in this match.
Yeah, and then the other one was at the end of Danielson, Zack Sabre Jr. Danielson's celebrating. He's raising Aubrey's hand. Then they go to the ringside, and Demetrius Johnson and Excalibur says, Demetrius Johnson and Kenny Omega are gonna be in a match.
They're like in a video
Tuesday.
game, yeah.
And then Moxley's like, oh, I thought they were going to be on like Dynamite or something. That'd have been cool.
That'd have been dope. That's what he said. That'd be dope.
Yeah, dope. Yeah. And
he was fantastic.
Was so precious.
There was an image. I'll see if I can pull up the image. Him leaning back in his chair after the Danielson match.
And he just like his reaction was, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like when that match was over. Like he was
got it here. I'll pull it up.
Back to what we were talking about before, and I know we're going to hop right back. I like Twan's comment here. The people in the building are loving it. The problem is the buildings aren't filled up. This is fantastic. This is fantastic image, Kevin.
He looks like he's like about to climax.
Yeah. Or just did.
Yeah, or just did.
Yeah.
That man needs a cigarette bad.
Nigel McGuinness on that match, him and Mox were incredible.
Yeah,
because Mox was like, cheerleading Danielson, and Nigel decided to cheerlead Zach. And at one point he's like standing up and he's screaming, Danielson, give up. Think of your wife and children.
Right. and Moxley takes off the headphones.
And he's like, and then after he's like, we got some chemistry. We're a real good team. So awesome.
But I was amazed. Like Moxley was legitimately doing a good job calling the matches too.
Yeah.
Like he was really pointing out some cool stuff. Yeah. Like this is what made that dragon screw even more vicious. And he was great in the Yuta match. There was a point where he was talking about Bryan Danielson, like when they they would square off and then they go back to their corners. And Nigel goes, but who's on their knees and who's standing? Mox is like, well, Bryan Danielson likes to crawl around on all fours, and Nigel goes, well, don't tell me about what he does in his personal life. And Mox just goes, I'm just saying he reads some of that tantric sexual stuff.
When Starks was taunting him with the elbows, and Danielson's or Moxley's like, oh, he's like, he's got to hit him harder than that. Like he's like, and then he's just annoying him at this point. and
there was a really cool moment in that match that was like, oh, that's why these two guys are the best. When Danielson's hitting him with the left, he's doing uppercuts with the left arm, and Sabre goes, why aren't you hitting me with your right hand, Bryan? Like in the ring, he's like, why aren't you hitting me with the other arm? And so Danielson switches arms and hits him twice, takes 2 shots with the right arm, and on the third one, Sabre puts his elbow down and nails him in the forearm, and Danielson goes down. And I was like, that was such a great, realistic little piece of work. That was it was just fantastic.
I think that match is like one where you almost would probably have to watch it like 3 or 4 times to really appreciate how good it is. Yeah, because I missed that.
We've been talking for 44 minutes. This right here, talking about Jon Moxley on the mic, is the most animated you two guys have been about anything on this show. I don't know what that says, but that is a fact.
He had another great line where he said something about how he's a pretty good commentator, and he says, I'm not really an author either, and I wrote a book. So
that's right. That was pretty good too.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
Oh man, maybe he'll become the new Chris Jericho, and they will overdo it and just drive it into the ground over the next year of Moxley on commentary.
Yeah, just put him on Rampage and then let him book his own matches, and it's just nothing but like Josh Barnett against like.
I assume he's cleared now, and that's why he was able to travel to Seattle. So maybe we'll see him wrestle again now soon. Yeah.
First of all,
that's good. That's a good sign.
Josh Barnett came out first, I believe, in that match,
and
then Moxley's music hit.
Yes,
and I was like, Jesus Christ, is this Moxley versus Barnett? Before, and they made me wait like 5 seconds before they said it was Claudio, and I was losing my mind.
So now, what I'd heard was the original plan before Moxley got hurt was Moxley to defend the international title against Josh Barnett.
I honestly think that would have been amazing, but Claudio was just, in my opinion, just as good.
But I mean, that's what made it a pre-show match, I guess. Which I mean, I would have put Starks and Yuta on the pre-show and put Barnett and Claudio on the main card, but that's just me.
Then you'd get a good promo about Ricky Starks being mad he's on the pre-show.
Yeah,
there's so many matches.
Claudio was. Yeah, I know. I'm just going up and down,
and I'm just like, I don't know what you'd take out. I don't know.
You could have taken out that 4-way tag match. Honestly,
the that is actually justify that you had more than 2 women on the show.
Believe it or not, that is the lowest. Oh no, the MJF match. But other than the MJF match, that is the lowest rated match on the card on Cage Match.
Okay,
is that 4-way tag? But I wonder how much of that has to do, and that's something we haven't talked about yet. Is I assume Rey Fenix is really injured.
There was a note I caught somewhere.
He did like one thing.
I think it was Dave or Brian tweeted that that was planned because they're just trying to keep him out of action as much as possible because he is banged up.
Because he was injured in the match where Moxley was injured.
Yeah, and then last week in the match with Jay Lethal, was it Jay or Jeff Jarrett? Mm-hmm. I thought he was hurt there, and Jeff and I were talking. Either he's hurt or he's actually a really good seller. And then we both kind of laughed and said, "No, he's hurt."
Brian, I think it was Brian Alvarez said that it was a planned deal to like let him do a couple spots with Nick Jackson to preview the match on Wednesday, and then write him out of the match.
Okay.
So that he could just take as little action as possible.
I don't hate that. Yeah, I don't hate that with these banged up guys.
Update on Danielson, Zack Sabre. We now have 3 votes that aren't 10. One is a 9 and one is an 8. But it's still got an average rating of 9.85.
I can't wait to hear Dave Meltzer rave about that match because it's literally a match that's just everything he loves.
Yeah, I gave it 5. Like I thought it could. I mean, I thought like 5 is supposedly a perfect match, but I've given matches over 5, so I thought that they could have got to another level, and maybe another match will get there. Like if Zach would have kicked out of the last Kinshasa or whatever, the Boumaye or whatever it's called. Yeah.
I think you're exactly right on that, Paul. Like it's a great match, but we know there could have been more. We know it could have been better.
But again, no complaints.
This is the first match, no complaints.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a 5-star match.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And some people called it, like our friend Brad, who I think he listens to the show.
He said one of the top 5. Yeah.
He said one of the top 5 matches he's ever seen. And Brad watches a lot of wrestling. So I don't think he's lying. Like, if that's how he feels, great. It's like, if you say Godfather's the best movie of all time, and Kevin says it's Shawshank, and James, you say it's Royal Tenenbaums. I mean, they're all great movies, right? It's just your personal preference.
Also a big Shawshank fan. By the way, I did not know that was the Godfather you were going with at the beginning of that sentence. I thought we were about to talk about the Ho Train. I'm glad we didn't.
Maybe he'll be next. The Charles White era.
Next, the Charles White era.
Please no. Although I think Rhino could be getting a contract soon, and maybe Kurt Angle.
No.
Well, listen, I'd probably take Rhino over RVD right now.
Rhino's actually, like, I see him in Impact all the time. He looks exactly the same as he always did. Matches are pretty much exactly the same. He was never all that great. Like, there's nothing wrong with him, but it's like Kane, like he ages pretty well.
Okay, what have we not talked about? Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne. What did we think of that one?
That's interesting considering how the show ended.
It was probably a clue, right?
Is it? I mean, he gets beat up by his new partner. I wonder if this is the story that in between those time is when he decided to
can't beat him, join
him, or it's like, hey, go. If you're gonna join,
or is he gonna get replaced? Maybe Luchasaurus is gonna be. Maybe he'll go good, and Christian's got a new protege.
Maybe he needed to get beat up for Darby to fall for everything.
His loyalty, yeah,
that could be.
Yeah.
It was really weird. I thought Nick Wayne's mom was going to churn. I really did.
I really thought the whole thing. Yeah, I really thought the whole thing was going to be that she really was in on it with him, and Christian was his new stepdad.
Is Nick Wayne? By the way, that whole angle's so creepy to me. That he's this new father figure. That's so creepy to me. But is Nick Wayne the new Marco Stunt? Is he going to be riding Luchasaurus's shoulders?
I was going the new Dominic Mysterio, but
that's what I think. That's what I think. Yeah. There was a promo on Rampage. I don't know if either of you guys watched Rampage. It was a tape promo.
Not all that often anymore.
Okay, it was a tape promo with Nick Wayne in the back, and he talked for about 3 minutes. And this is one of the worst promos that you will ever see on television. Like, really? I just cannot believe. And Garrett and I both independently made the same comment that, there's no way this should have made TV. A friend of ours, Larry, thinks that was on purpose. That because they knew they were going to churn him. And so it's like you're deliberately churning fans on the guy to get them ready for the fact that he's going to be a heel soon. And it's possible. Like, I don't know. But Dominic Mysterio was like that when he first started. Yeah, he was bad, like get off my TV bad. And then even when he first started actually getting good, you still have a lot of fans that probably aren't watching that. I just heard myself.
That was my mistake.
Okay.
I was looking up I was going to see if that promo was on YouTube. I muted my phone, but it did not apparently work.
Yeah, I was hoping that he would get more of a run as like the plucky baby face trying to prove himself. And, I was a big advocate for hoping that like we'd see like Sting and Darby and him go for like a trios run or something like that. I wanted to see him have a little bit of a run where people actually got on board with him before we turned. But who knows, I think we saw with Jungle Boy, like turning heel doesn't automatically make you click.
No, I think people were kind of behind him, and I think they just really wanted to do the turn in his hometown.
I'm really morbidly interested in to see how this affects Seattle as a market, because AEW is the promotion where it's like, hey, we treat our hometown stars like hometown stars, and they did treat them like hometown stars. Bryan Danielson got a great win. Aubrey, got celebrated. Swerve had a great moment, but the big match ended with that, and I couldn't really gauge because Edge obviously sent people home happy, but
they were.
Is that the kind of thing where they're going to be like, when we may not show out the next time, you're like, hey, this is the big match in my hometown.
They were almost to the level of like getting ready to throw garbage in the ring, before Edge got there. Yeah. I mean, when Sting comes out and he barely gets a pop, like people are like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And
I couldn't really gauge. I didn't really get a good sense of whether it was like, this is heat on Nick Wayne, the character, and Christian the heel, or is this is Nick Wayne on Tony Khan, the booker?
That's a good point. And I mean, we really don't know.
I'd love to hear from,
but again, showing out, they only sold 6,000 tickets for this show.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is, I think, 2,500 down from the last time they were there, which was a TV show.
Yeah.
So, maybe, there's...
Also, they announced this pay-per-view very late in the game.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Did they already have
Collision last night? I don't think did that well either.
Did they already have Dynamite booked in Seattle before? I mean, not Dynamite, Collision before they announced WrestleDream?
Yes, yeah, because WrestleDream was only announced like a month ago.
But Collision still sold less tickets.
I'm just trying to find.
That's what I think that.
Yeah, so they did 6,058 is what the final count on WrestleTix was for tonight.
I feel like if they would have announced this 3 months ago, you probably would have had a couple thousand people fly in. But with 4 weeks, I think you're going to lose those fly-ins. A lot of them.
I'm wondering if if this final countdown tour or whatever that Bryan Danielson's going to be doing, if he does another round in Seattle, kind of like Edge did in WWE. Like he was in Toronto, and he said, "Hey, the next time in Toronto, it'll probably be the last time you see me." And then about a year later, they came back to Toronto, and he's like, "Hey, this may be my last time you see me." And I wonder if like they would do this again in Seattle with WrestleDream. I don't know if like being on the West Coast is helpful for bringing in New Japan talent or anything, but if like Danielson would have his final match in Seattle, for instance.
I got the tech count for Collision 4,100 last night.
Oh wow! So even though it had a lead time, it's the pay-per-view still.
And they've only sold. There's a show debuting the market on this coming Wednesday in Stockton, 2,700.
Well, they need a Diaz clearly.
Yeah, or a Copeland. So maybe maybe we'll start to see some tickets moving.
I could absolutely see those tickets
another Canada date.
Yeah, they should do a Canada tour. Actually,
let's see.
Just stay away from BC, Paul, if you're listening.
If you're
everywhere but BC.
If you're watching live right now and you're in the chat, let us know. Let us know what your big takeaways were from this show. What was your favorite moment? What was your favorite match? And is anybody watching that didn't buy the pay-per-view? That's something I'm really curious about. I think there might be some people here to find out what happened when they maybe didn't buy this one. Let's see. Eddie Kingston Shibata. We talked about that.
Yeah,
I think we've hit on. We haven't talked Acclaimed versus TMDK.
I barely watched that.
Bad Dude Tito looked okay.
I will say that was better than I was expecting it to be.
It was.
Bad Dude Tito is like if Adam Bomb was 30 years younger and was actually talented.
Bad Dude Tito is always on Bloodsport, by the way. Every year he's on Bloodsport. He's generally on some GWC.
That's a guy I look at and I'm like,
GCW.
I'm amazed that he's not
signed. Yeah. He
looks one of those things where you just don't notice that he's actually like 5'9" or something.
That's part of it.
That's probably one of them.
He's not that tall. Yeah.
I was looking at them, and in the Discord chat I put that Mikey Nichols looks like Roderick Strong's older brother who sits at the bar and talks about the time he used to be a wrestler.
Yeah, oh gosh, the guy in Friday Night Lights. It's been a while since I watched it, but the older brother of one of the guys on the team.
Older brother of Tim Riggins.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's exactly it. So I got a question for you, and this may be slightly controversial, so I'm going to apologize in advance. The rap that Max Caster did on his way down to the ring. He says, "The mighty don't kneel." Well, I saw you guys kneeling in front of the glory holes.
Right.
So is it okay for him to do homophobic slurs just because his partner's gay? Is that like, does he got a hall pass? Is that like, I don't, because that's not the first time he's done it.
He should have had Anthony come in for that one line.
Maybe.
Be safe.
But it's funny because I'm amazed that he doesn't get any heat for it. Like,
it's amazing.
Yeah, like there's no way John Cena, for instance, would have been able to do that in WWE. Like,
he might have in 2005.
I don't know, man. Glory Hole.
Some pretty. Well, maybe not
I don't think Glory Hole's getting through.
I gotta say though, this was not his best rap. Like Glory Hole. He
hasn't had a good one in a while.
It's.
What was the first line? There was the first line of his rap, and Shane Haste. Whatever he said in his first, it wasn't the Glory Hole line, but the first one he said, Shane Haste just kind of went,
yeah,
like, you got me.
Yeah,
that's true. Actually,
the best recent one was the Outrunners when they were like, selling the lines, like,
and back to that. That's why I wanted to see them do a handicap match against MJF, because you want to see a kangaroo kick from hell.
Oh God,
those guys would sell a kangaroo kick.
I do not understand why we don't have more Outrunners.
No.
I do not understand.
If I were the Outrunners, I would have been calling up Rick Boogs too.
How
did you watch that video I sent you, James, of Boogs?
Yeah, I did. I did.
And
Thank you
Pratt
so
McAfee
much.
marking out. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They gotta bring him in. The Boogs era.
What did we think of Orange? What do we think of Orange Cassidy and Hook as a tag team?
Yeah,
I enjoyed seeing Hook versus some new people. I enjoyed to see him against some young bucks.
The suplex spot he did with Matt Jackson was pretty cool.
That was great.
That was cool. I really liked seeing Hook perform in a match that's not built around him. Like so many matches that he's in, it's like the match is orchestrated to make Hook look really good. And I feel like he's getting to a point where they feel like, okay, we can plug you in a match with 7 other guys.
Yeah.
And you don't have, this doesn't have to be a Hook match.
Yeah. I like that.
Nice. I like seeing that.
And I'd forgotten one thing. It's been a while since I've really seen, or I guess closely watched a Young Bucks match. I'd forgotten how much they no-sell devastating moves.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'd forgotten that.
Matt barely stops chewing gum.
Oh, my God.
And how much they scream right before they're about to do a move.
So I half the time I'm like, the Young Bucks are the best team ever. And then the other half the time I'm like, the Young Bucks are so freaking annoying. And I go back to a ROH house show that I went to, I think it was 2014. It was the Bullet Club era. It was when the Young Bucks were hot and Ring of Honor was starting to really, Cody was coming in and it was like really starting to like really peak. And I hadn't been watching it at all, so I'd never really even seen the Young Bucks other than when they were like Generation Me back in TNA. And my friend took me to a show. We were front row, and like Punishment Martinez was on the show. Got to see Joey Ryan do his awful stuff, and there's all these people that went on to other things. Marty Scurll. It was quite the showcase of not good people. But the match was Young Bucks against Vincent from The Righteous and whoever his partner was. I don't think it was Dutch, but whenever they were like the second version
Bateman.
of the Kingdom.
Bateman, maybe.
Yeah. I don't remember the other guy very well. But I remember being in the front row for this Young Bucks match and Vincent, I remember in particular, being just so annoyed with them because all they did was yell out things before every move.
I remember seeing them in Japan, and this was probably around that same era, maybe a year or two later, and they were working in a building where like they weren't that over and the crowd was just like quiet, so they were just screaming like every time they hit a move it was like like Brother Zay does now, but they were doing it like constantly, and it was so annoying.
I did not, coming into this show tonight, I didn't expect the level of screams we were going to get or the level of glory hole talk we were going to get. And the fact that the two are completely unrelated.
Yeah. I did apologize ahead of time for the glory hole.
And you didn't say it.
Yeah, I was quoting.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I am uncomfortable with the amount of things that Billy Gunn still yells in 2023 during matches.
Yeah. Well, Billy Gunn, he gets a hall pass.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we did kind of touch on everything.
Yeah.
Starks.
There was a lot. Overall, my take was a lot of good wrestling, way, way, way too long, and too many matches that were set up over the last 72 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, though, that this card, in terms of AEW build, was actually built up pretty well. I just think, there was too many matches, and they added a bunch of stuff at the end that really didn't need to be added. I think Ricky Starks and Wheeler Yuta, I think, was the last main card match that was added. That didn't need to be on.
We didn't need that at all. We didn't need it at all.
That 4-way tag, if they would have just forgot about it, I don't think we would have noticed.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take those two matches off the card, this is a better show.
I think so. But also there's a lot of storylines going on right now that weren't even touched on, like the Devil Masks.
Yes. Well, they did bring it up.
They mentioned it, but
they mentioned it, but we didn't get any continuance of it.
Why did we need to do that on the last show? That's what I don't understand.
Right. I assumed that was going to play into this show since that's been the thing this week.
For all we know, they followed up on Collision. I don't know, because I don't think any of us have seen Collision.
I mean, that is weird because the next week is or this
next
Wednesday,
week's the anniversary show.
The 4th anniversary show. And you would think that would be a great time for MJF to come out triumphant. I just beat 2 guys. I'm the world champ. I got both ROH tag titles. Still best friends with Adam Cole. Everything's great.
Then you bring out
Jay White comes out.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I don't know.
But I mean, they had to kill 23 minutes on that show.
Yes.
23 minutes of what is it without commercials, James, on a 2-hour show? About 82?
Generally, you're talking 20 minutes or 22 minutes per hour. So,
or per half hour.
Yeah.
So 88 minutes.
Well, no.
So we're talking over 25% of the show was devoted to a promo that had nothing to do with the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And I mean, well, and then you think, okay, well, it's setting up something down the road, but when? I mean, next week is the anniversary show. The following week is Title Tuesday.
Right.
I suppose it could be Title Tuesday, but I think most people think it's going to be Full Gear. So that's still 6 weeks away.
I'll say this. So they're attacking Jay White right now. Adam Cole is out. Clearly, MJF is implicated in this.
Yeah.
I'm going to make an assumption that MJF's going to come out this week, brag about him beating 2 guys, and that group's going to jump him. And this might lead to MJF teaming with Jay White while his partner's out.
Oh.
Potentially against whoever these people are.
So maybe we haven't seen the last of the Righteous.
Maybe we haven't. Oh my God.
Somebody,
they unmask this crew and it's just the Righteous.
Oh, well, no, I think I have a prediction. I think it's the Kingdom, and Roderick Strong and Adam Cole and MJF. I think it's the 5 of them are all together. In which case, that means the last 3 months of TV was a complete waste of time. But
you're gonna love my theory. I've been trying to connect the final dots, but
give it to us.
At one point, I had a thought of how you could get to. This is for you, Paul.
Okay.
That you could get to Cole, Roddy, Kyle O'Reilly, and the Kingdom as a 5-person unit, taking out MJF, which leads to him reforming the Pinnacle.
Oh. So FTR.
And I was trying to figure out how to connect, because Wardlow you can just bring in because he's just been out. So if you figure out how to get them on the same page, all you have to do is debut him. But you would have to connect some kind of dots with like the Kingdom going after the tag titles or something. I don't know.
Could Copeland end up with MJF? They could be like buddies. I could see MJF cutting a promo about how he grew up watching Edge and his favorite wrestler.
I'm sure he's got a whole monologue written in his pocket.
Yeah, probably got a picture of him getting an autograph from Edge at some signing in 2010.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then eventually he'll turn on him and you didn't sign my book.
Well, I'll say this: we have this mystery hanging over us.
Yeah,
we have Adam Copeland. It's the 4-year anniversary. I'm looking forward to AEW this week.
Yeah,
I'll say that. Let's see. Christian called Bryan Alvarez a mark. That's the latest.
I'm just shocked Bryan Alvarez went to the press conference because he's still got to do Wrestling Observer Radio with Dave.
Oh my God!
Dave, what's awesome with that is Dave probably told him to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
He's probably just hating it right now.
Well, we've been going about an hour. Any kind of last words on the show? Any last words on AEW right now?
I mean, if you talk about a new era, kind of underwhelming. But it's cool. Like it's cool that they have a legitimate star coming in that's probably gonna get a shot. I'm sure they'll get some mainstream press tomorrow, which will be nice.
They'll probably get a lot of people watching Dynamite on Wednesday, and so if they do have some more debuts, that might be the time to do it.
Yeah,
that'll be the time to do it.
So I know Mariah May was one. I think she just finished up with Stardom, and there's rumors of her coming in. There's always Mercedes. Is going to be in the back of people's minds. There's a lot of people that just got released from WWE. So I don't know.
If they've got Mercedes, if they're able to get Mercedes, this Wednesday is the time to bring her in.
Yeah.
Because they've got a world title match, Saraya and Shida.
Oh yeah. Well, that's next week.
Oh, I thought it was this weekend.
No,
this week.
No,
okay.
They did a number.
It's
yeah,
on the title Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know what's on the line.
The only thing they've announced for this week then is Nick Jackson and Phoenix.
Which,
I mean, that's all you need, really. Come on now.
Yeah. Well, it's better than last week at this time. I think all we had was the Hangman Swerve contract signing.
Yeah.
So
4th anniversary.
It's always
show.
like
surprise
pay-per-view.
It's the 4th anniversary Mystery Vortex show.
2,700 fans in Stockton. I guess maybe they can get in Nick Diaz for a match.
Oh, that'd be
Nick Diaz and Josh Barnett. Look at Tony.
Nick Diaz and Josh Barnett.
I hope we have some Diaz brothers at least in the front row.
Yeah,
that's what we need. That'd be for sure.
That'd be
just bring out Eddie Kingston. Just have him. Just let it rip.
I feel better than I did before this show, so I will say that. Yeah, before like we started recording. I mean, I feel better. So that's good. I'm more optimistic about the future.
Well, again, I was tired, but there was a lot of good wrestling. Again, we've said it a million times, and we'll say it a million more. You're not going to get a bad AEW pay-per-view. Not at least not in the current era.
No.
I don't know about this next era. Anything could happen. But I am looking forward to wrestling this week. I'm looking forward in particular to AEW this week. You guys comfortable with wrapping it up?
Yeah.
I
think
all right. From me, from Paul, from Kevin, from all of us here at Fight Game Media, from Butterscotch, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We hope to see you back again here for the actual boom next Tuesday. Have a good one, everybody.